Hey everyone, this is Jamie. Today I want to talk and touch on a topic which I realized that I should have addressed a bit earlier, but I didn't. So I kind of finally started getting some movement when it comes to surgeries. And I went really prepared, like to ask God knows how many questions, and I had so many in my head. I wrote a bunch down. And so I guess what's difference is, and this was something which I talked to my partner, and he was like, "Well, you need to address this as a sort of public versus private." But I really think that because the internet is very, very focused on the fact that we have more information on U.S. surgeons and in general on the U.S. Health system and about all the insurances and everything. So when you have an actual European source or you stay in Europe and you don't really want to go somewhere else, there's pretty much like nothing at all when it comes to that. So I'm gonna talk specifically about my experience in the public Portuguese healthcare. And in general, I find it very interesting because I started off from private, and a lot of people do start from private and then they go for public because public is much easier when it comes to surgery. And a lot of people start from public as well, but I don't really know anyone who continues private for the whole duration. And in general, I guess just like a lot of other European countries, it's much easier to um, get see because you don't well you do need insurance, but if you start from private, but like I still think the public is quite open when it comes to starting, because I remember I was talking to another transman, and I've talked to another few transmen which started from public, and it was quite straightforward for them as well. And I also wanted to note that as years go on, it gets easier, thankfully, at least in Portugal. So like I remember when I started, it was quite difficult for for trans mask people. I'm gonna be talking obviously from the trans mask perspective and from a trans man which I identify as, yes, I'm a binary trans man. So I remember that when it came to non-binary transmasculine people, they would have to mask themselves as binary, and they were very focused on the fact that they had to go for the narrative, for a very, very specific narrative. And I remember that I had to help other ones as well in order to obtain C. I had to give them the ropes and etc. So it felt kind of like when you look back at older US history, when people would pretty much believe to the word of mouth, and they would listen to what was said from a person who got the hormones, for instance, on what to say. In my case, I didn't really go swimming for what did I need to say. But I do remember that I knew that I'd be asked one of the questions, which kind of not startled me, but it felt a bit weird to get it asked, which was, have you ever peed standing when you were a child? And that was the only one which I had to pretty much like say, oh yes, absolutely, which felt not as natural, because I remember when I was a kid, it wasn't something that I was very into the whole idea of trying. I just did it. So I didn't think about it further than that. So it wasn't a very big eureka moment for me. I just wanted to have a dig. I didn't think about the urinary aspect of it that much. So that was pretty much the only tricky question for me. And other than that, I was very straightforward. Like writing the life letter and everything, it was really straightforward. Um, So when it comes to surgery, I was really expecting something much more difficult. And I was expecting, so when you read like US stories, and that was pretty much the only thing I had to base it off. um People really tell like you have to ask like this and that to the surgeon. And so my first one was about top surgery, and that's what I'll be talking about. So I was like, well, how long does it take for like the binder, the drains, how they're removed? And they were like, oh, you don't have to worry, you're just like at the hospital and they get removed and everything. And I was like, please bear in mind also another fact is that in Portugal, they don't allow you to inject testosterone yourself. You have to go to a licensed place specific, and like for instance, I've had it done at the emergency a few times because I was behind on my shots. I've had it done at the pharmacy by licensed people, like licensed doctors, and or I've had it done. Oh dear, how do you say that in English? It's basically like the the neighborhood clinic, which is by the government. So that's where I usually get my T shots. So pretty much what happens is I buy it from the prescription that I get from the doctor, and then I go to the health center. There, that's the name. I go to the health center, and then they inject it for me. So I never had to really learn beyond what I knew before on how to inject people. So I never really gave myself a shot. And I really hope that stays that way because I'm very, very scared of giving myself a shot. But you know, if it happens, I'll learn it. I mean, the world is going crazy right now. I mean, there's a lot of. And I was also thinking about this the other day. I know it's a bit of a other subject, but in general, the fact that a lot of people on Reddit are getting targeted for being trans and specifically on trans subreddits is really disgusting. And I want to say that I hope you feel safe. And when you think that, um, like I get more hate online than I get in real life. Like I was helping someone with their study, and I was doing a questionnaire, and I was like, I don't really get transphobia. Like, I get it maybe like from relatives who don't accept me, and even then they're like jumped off. So, but when it comes to specifically like what happens outside and my social circle or like people who I know, people who know me, I don't really get it. Like I really have to like think like years and years back, and it's literally because the people were just shady or uncomfortable to be around. So I really want to say that sometimes if you are in an accepting place, of course, if you're in an accepting place, then you need to remember sometimes that the hate you see online will never reflect what you see in front of you. So sometimes we end up being our own enemies by internalizing what we see online and thinking that we'll see it also on the streets. And in general, I've been fighting much more dysphoria, which comes from here, rather than what I hear from people. So yeah, so that's I guess a positive story for you. So I realized that a lot of the pains, a lot of the methods, a lot of the things which are commonplace in the US about top surgery do not apply. So I really want to stress that please consult your doctor. Please consult your surgeon. Please ask any question you have. And yes, I did feel like I was really dumb because I was really nervous about the stitches. I was really nervous about certain aspects. And they were like, no, it's fine. Like, it's really fine. So I wasn't as scared. And everything feels much more clear than not knowing what's happening. So I really recommend to just talk to your doctor rather than read a bunch of stuff online. And I would say that's applicable for all surgeries because I also had a consultation about another one. So I also found that I had too many questions, which felt like I was reading too much US sort of guides. And I do wish there were more guides about when it comes to European surgeries. But you know. So yeah, I really wanted to touch on that it's literally just ask your surgeon. So like for instance, I thought that I wouldn't be able to like hug my dog after the surgery. Like uh, and or like about the drains. I thought that I have to go home with them, and that's not the case here in Portugal. So you know, so that's kind of like a small thing, but I still want to address it. And in general, I'd say right now these days, it's not like, sure, you can read guides, you can read them to calm down, but things are much easier if you're outside the US. Obviously, not everywhere, but in specific locations. So I remember when I was researching like where to get tea and stuff, I remember I was reading about Spain, I was reading about the Czech Republic, I was reading about Russia, I was reading about a bunch of places. And everyone has their own guidelines. So if you do want to read proper guides, I would recommend go on Instagram, go on Reddit, ask for your specific country. So, like, if you're in Portugal, guides for the US are not applicable, or for the UK. So be wise, and instead of getting scared and asking dumb questions like, "Can I hug my dog?" It's better to just ask your surgeon and to read a guide about your own country instead of taking assumptions that everything is. I'm not trying to thrash the US surgeons, I'm just saying that it's done differently. And the expectations are different because in the US you have insurance, you go through very, very meticulous detail, which I mean, obviously, it's good that you have much more options, like they have um, different incisions, you can get more nipple sensitivity and stuff like that. Well, here's pretty much just keyhole or double incision. So, and yeah, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. But again, I have the perspective of Portugal, so thank you. And if you enjoyed this video, please click like. If you enjoy my videos, please subscribe. Apparently, that raises subscribers. Thank you very much, and